Assalamu alaikum and welcome to The Entrepreneur. And as always, we have a prominent guest today. And what I said last week, that we are following a theme on the financial services. Now today we'll be again speaking about a special financial service, products in the halal Sharia compliant sector. And I've got with me Raza Ullah, who is the CEO and founder of Pfida Halal Home Finance. Welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum, thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Raza, now tell me, first of all, why did you come up with this product? What's so special about it? And then we'll be talking about, what's the reason of embarking on the journey of business from a young age?
Yeah, sure. So the product itself, I left my job in the financial market sector, which I'll talk about in a bit, to start setting up Pfida. And my intention was to create a new type of product to help people buy their homes without ever being in debt.
Okay.
So the UK economy, there's a charity called Step Change, which calculated that the UK economy has a cost of around £8 billion due to problem debt.
Wow.
And debt is usually associated with riba. Right. When you are paying off your debt, you have to pay riba.
Absolutely.
And this is one of the oppressive natures of riba. So I wanted to create a new product where somebody can buy their home in a true partnership in an equitable fashion without ever having to actually take on any debt. And that makes our product very, very unique in the market. You can literally buy your home, pay similar to what you'd pay elsewhere, but never be in debt, have complete flexibility over your payments from month to month through our app, never have to worry about the roof over your home. Over your head.
Well, that's very interesting because you say without debt. Now, explain to our viewers, how do they, obviously in a normal circumstance, they'll be given a deposit, a down payment and so forth. So how do we exactly, maybe I missed your points, but how do we exactly, sort of avoid this debt sector?
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you asked. So with a conventional mortgage, the bank lends you money. You use that money to buy a house, and you now owe that money back to the bank as a debt for the next 30 or so years, which you have to repay with interest. Now, the word mortgage, not many people know what the word mortgage means.
Explain.
I'm sorry?
Explain, just for the people who don't know.
Yeah, so the word mortgage, actually, you'll recognize the first half of the word. Mort means death. The word mortgage actually means death pledge or death grip.
Wow.
So when you take a mortgage, you are pledged until death, effectively, and the bank has got you in its grip until you die or pay off that debt. So that's again the oppressive nature of debt and loans.
So we can see why it's forbidden as well, because in Islam especially, people not to be oppressed.
Correct.
And this is the situation.
And riba in particular is very, very oppressive.
Absolutely.
So the way our model works is very different. Rather than us lending you money, we buy the property together as partners.
Right.
Now, if you and I buy a car together, Sharif bhai, I haven't loaned any money to you, you haven't loaned any money to me, we both own the car as partners.
Right.
Now, what this means is, if anything happens to the car, we are partners. We share the loss together.
Absolutely.
Whereas in a bank loan, if anything happens to your house, you have to pay that debt back no matter what. So your house can be destroyed and you may still owe hundreds of thousands of pounds to the bank. That's a debt. Here there's no debt. If the house is lost, we lose that together as partners. So we share the risk together, right? Okay. Similarly, you don't have to repay us over a set period of time like you do with the bank. You must repay over 30 years. If you try and repay too soon, they penalise you with penalty fines.
That's right, yeah.
And if you take too long, they're going to take your house away from you. Here you have complete flexibility because there is no debt. You can choose to buy our share from us as quickly or as slowly as you like, or not at all.
So you're very, very flexible.
Complete flexibility.
So in terms of the high street conventional mortgage, there is a redemption sort of, is that what it's called, a charge when you want to sort of pay earlier on?
Correct.
Okay, so explain to me, for example, if a buyer here comes forward to you and they've only got 25 or 30% of the actual value of the property, so will you, obviously you'll be the, sort of 70% owner of the property, right?
Absolutely.
And you take on everything in terms of, just say, hypothetically speaking, any natural disasters to occur, and just what you mentioned about the car scenario earlier on. So just explain to us a little bit so the viewers understand.
No, that's exactly right. So we allow customers to partner with us, starting from a share as low as 15 to 20%. Right. So we'll provide 80 to 85% of the funding towards the property, if you like. Now, as a customer, you will pay rent on our share. Right. And that's the fair rent. So it's not.
There's a name for that, right? There's a term for.
So it's an ijara, effectively a lease, right? So you're paying rent on your ijara, which is a lease. But it's also musharaka because we are partners, right? Now, you will pay fair rent, so it's not pegged to interest rates in any way. It's fair rent, but scaled down, so you're only paying rent on our share of the property.
Right.
Now, as I mentioned, you can buy us out over time or just continue paying rent on our share, entirely up to you. We've got an app where you can choose from month to month what you want to pay. It's very, very simple and easy. Now, if the property was lost, normally a bank would say, right, the property's been destroyed, you must immediately pay us our share. And that's the same for conventional banks and even Islamic banks, right? Whereas with us, we say, no, we're partners. We've shared the risk in the property together. If anything happens to the property, you don't owe us anything. We are like a landlord. Imagine when you're renting a property from a landlord. If the property is destroyed, it's not your headache, it's the landlord's headache. The landlord's taken the loss. In that case, the landlord owns 100% of the property. You own 0% because you're just a tenant. This is somewhere in between, where you own part of the property and you're renting part of the property. So we take our loss for our share, you take your loss for your share. It's the fairest possible way of doing things, and it's completely aligned with the Sharia. So our product is fully vetted and approved by the Islamic Council of Europe, led by Sheikh Haytham al-Haddad. And actually we've run it by many, many Sharia scholars, and we, alhamdulillah, have never met a scholar who's had any issues with our model. So there's no grey areas here. It's as tayyib, as pure as you can get.
It sounds very, very reasonable. My next question would be, when approaching for halal finance, I find a lot of, I get to see a lot of, clients myself, a lot of customers that come in the line of business that I'm in, and they say that it's very, very difficult. So what would the requirements be? I mean, obviously, even if you want to go through high street conventional mortgage, there are requirements. But in terms of the halal finance, people always mentioning that the rates are more, the difficulty in acquiring a mortgage because of so many aspects that you've got to fulfill. So explain to us what would be different in your product.
Yeah, so one of the biggest complaints people have with the Islamic products is that they cost more than conventional products. So when I set up this business, this product, I wanted to eliminate what's called the Muslim premium, where it costs you more to be Muslim. So at the moment, alhamdulillah, I'm very, very proud to say, buying a home with us is one of the cheapest ways to buy a home. Right now, we're significantly cheaper than Islamic bank mortgages, and actually we're even cheaper than conventional bank mortgages. So that's something I'm very, very proud of. I feel when I was coming up with the mechanism that if you can afford to rent it, you should be able to afford to buy it. And there are many people who are renting, and they're very good renters, and they're paying their rent month on month, but because all their money's going in rent, they can't save up a deposit, and they don't want to get a mortgage for Sharia compliance reasons. So that is what I was seeking to address. So alhamdulillah, I'm very proud that we're able to offer a very affordable way to buy a home, and as a result it's very inclusive. And I'd like to tell you my story, actually, how I'm
going to come to that, because what we're talking about is really interesting, and just for myself even. You've chosen a very good name, Pfida, which means basically
benefit.
Right, from my understanding, a benefit, so to profit or benefit, and
that's in many different languages. Arabic, Bangla, Urdu, Persian, Turkish, many different languages. It means the same thing.
It means the same thing, and this is what you're trying to provide. Now, what we mentioned about how difficult it is to, if you just mention a few things, like a few requirements, how much a person should be earning, what kind of, what should they show, and so forth.
So we take quite a bespoke approach to our customers. We generally, on our website, you can sign up for a free account and you can use what's called our calculators. There's something called an acceptance in principle calculator. So you can go on there and you can see whether you would be approved or not. But what we don't do, many banks, is use a blanket approach. They take 5 times your salary and they base it on that. We take a more bespoke approach. So we look at your actual income and your actual outgoings. We look at what you have left over each month, plus a bit for contingency for one-off expenses. And we want to make sure that if you are paying us on a monthly basis, you've got enough left over to live without it being a stretch for you. That is our acid test, right? Now, the way we do that affordability assessment is not based on your ability to just pay rent, because what we don't want to do is trap people paying rent forever. So it's based on your ability to pay rent and gradually get to full home ownership. So that's how we conduct our affordability assessment. Generally, you need to be at least 21 years old, and we generally ask you to be earning at least £25,000 to £30,000 or more. But
that's it?
Correct, yeah. So most banks won't even look at you at that range. Whereas if you can convince us, maybe you're going for a modest house, right, and you don't have many expenses. Well, as long as you can afford it, we have no reason to say no to you. You just need to be able to provide us the evidence. So what you can't do is say, I'm earning lots of money, but I just can't prove it to you.
Yeah.
Of course, we can't just go on that basis. But as long as you can prove to us your income and your outgoings, and as long as we're satisfied that we're not overburdening you, we've got no reason not to help you, inshallah.
Okay, one or two more questions on this. I'm sorry, producers, you've got to give me a bit more time because this is getting to be a very interesting show, and we'll be talking about Raza Ullah and his early life later on. Not that you're very old. Now, what we spoke about requirements, minimum requirements. You said, they've got to be 21 years old, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah, 21 years old. And also, you just said, what, 25,000? That's an earning of 25,000 is very, very low to acquire a mortgage. Is that based on the value of the property?
Yeah, so we'll look at the value of the property you're seeking to buy.
Yeah, so let's say £500,000 for £500,000 for a property.
Yeah.
What would the deposit be here? And
so at the moment we recommend a 20% minimum deposit.
Right.
So on a £500,000 property, you would need £100,000. It's quite substantial.
Yeah.
We do accept 15%
Yeah.
as well deposit,
Yeah.
and we'll even consider a bit below that. Yeah. As I say, we don't just take.
But even on a 400,000 mortgage, or let's not call it a mortgage, a sharak. Can we call it a mortgage? It is a mortgage.
It's a partnership.
It's a partnership. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, on a 400,000 and somebody's earning 25,000 a year.
Yeah. So somebody earning 25,000
yeah.
may not be able to afford a £400,000 property.
Exactly.
So what we'll look at is the property you want to buy.
Yeah.
We'll look at, what would the monthly cost of that be? Then we'll compare that against how much are you earning?
Yeah.
What is your net disposable income? In other words, how much are you earning minus your regular costs and outgoings? How much have you got left over?
That's right. Yeah.
And we'll look at the two of them together and say, can you afford this property? Now we might say, okay, you can't afford this £400,000 property, but you could afford a £200,000 property if you're looking up north somewhere, perhaps. So it won't be a complete no. But maybe if you're dead set on that £500,000 property, maybe we won't be able to support you straight away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted to understand, because at the end of the day, as a business, you've got to look at what you can and cannot do as well.
Absolutely. And we have to be responsible as well.
Absolutely.
One thing we do is we help you save up.
Yeah.
So we have halal savings accounts as well.
I was going to come to that actually. So it's called Halal Home Finance and Savings Provider.
Correct.
Where does the saving come into it?
So we offer savings accounts, just like if you imagine a bank has two key activities. One is a place where you put your money, and maybe you earn a return on it. If it's a conventional bank, that's interest, which we can't keep, it's haram. And there's another key function, which is the lending function. Now, the whole purpose of Pfida, the whole reason I created Pfida, is to create a genuinely halal alternative to that banking system. So we have the same two functions. We offer savings accounts where you can put your money and get a genuinely halal return on it.
Right.
And you know that your money is only being used for good tayyib causes. When you put your money in a bank, the bank can do anything with that money. You don't even have a clue what they're doing. They can take very high risk with it as long as they're holding reserves, and you may not even know. And if that risk pays off and they make lots of money, who keeps the money? They do, right? They only give you a very small fraction. And if the risk doesn't pay off and the bank collapses, guess who has to bail them out? You, the taxpayer. So this is the problem with the banking system. Whereas with us, you know your money is only being used for one purpose, to help people buy homes using our completely tayyib, halal home buying approach, and for nothing else. Right? So that is our proposition. So you can open a halal savings account with us. We actually offer returns, very good returns, up to targeting up to 4.7% at the moment. And that's in a completely halal framework. And for most people, that's completely tax-free. And funnily enough, and I won't get into the reasons just here, you can see our YouTube and our website, but funnily enough, you don't even have to pay zakat on that money. Whereas the money you're saving in the bank account, you have to pay zakat on. And it's because it's going into property, and property is not a zakatable asset. But we've got good YouTube videos on it. I won't get into the technicalities now. But anyone who is interested, go on our YouTube. There's a whole video on why you don't have to pay zakat when you open a savings account with us.
Okay, maybe, I don't know if you've covered this, and because, I'm trying to get a lot in here. One question that a lot of people ask is, with regards to the conventional mortgages and the halal home finance, where do they actually get their money from?
Yes.
Is that a good question?
Yeah, very good question.
So normally they say, well, you know what, normal banks are using the money on interest and so forth.
Correct.
So, and this is where the money is coming from
to
provide you with. So what would you say to that?
Yes, so one thing I was very, very keen on, and one of my business partners, Sheikh Salman Hassan, he's our in-house Sharia scholar, everything about our business should be halal top to bottom. So we can't be borrowing money on interest and then offering a halal home buying service. It doesn't make any sense. So the way we fund the homes is through our savings accounts. People put money in the savings accounts with us. We use that money to fund homes. The rental income we make, that's our income, the rent people are paying us, and we give a profit share on that to our savings account holders. Very simple mechanism.
So it's a circulation of that money coming in and going to new buyers and so forth, yeah?
That word circulation is key because we actually refer to it as a virtuous cycle. So it's actually a giant committee structure when you think about it, and this is from the prophetic tradition. Everybody comes together for a like-minded purpose to put money into a pool. The people who need that money use that money, and everybody is benefiting everybody else. So when you put money into that pool, you're benefiting other people, because rather than your money in a bank being used to put people into debt and riba, your money is being used to help people avoid debt and riba.
Fantastic. Well, you know what?
You're getting a halal return as well.
I'd like to thank you actually for thinking about this, because coming out with a product like this, I'm sure it's going to benefit, and hopefully I've provided, or I've approached with the right questions for your benefit, the viewers at home. Now let's get to a little bit about yourself. You've got 17 years experience in the London financial market, specializing in risk measurement and management. Now, from a young age, did you always think that you're going to be a businessman?
Not at all. So if you had told me 10 years ago that I would set up my own business, I would have laughed at you. Right? So going back to school, I was always a mathematician. I used to come, alhamdulillah, top of my class in maths. It was always my favourite subject. And I studied maths at university. And when I was at university, I found out what an actuary is. My older brother, and many people haven't heard of this, and I'll explain in just a second. So my older brother's best friend, he was an actuary, and I met him and I said, "What do you do?" And he said, "My job is to quantify risk for financial institutions. So I look at all the different risks they're exposed to. So if you look at financial risk, market risk, people risk, operational risk, credit risk, all the different risks they're exposed to. And I come up with very sophisticated computer models to model those risks. And my job as an actuary, I learned it from him and decided, right, this is something interesting to me because I'm a mathematician. So my job as an actuary, I run sophisticated models tens of thousands of times, and I come up with all the scenarios for what could happen to this business. So if a customer defaults here for 1 year, but then next year he gets a pay rise and then he starts making payments again, at the same time another customer's defaulting, at the same time interest rates are rising, at the same time bonds are plummeting. All of that is contained in my computer model, and I run tens of thousands of scenarios to come up with the full range of outcomes, and then using a probabilistic simulation, come up with how much capital you need to hold to make sure that in the worst case scenario, you're not going bust. That was my job as an actuary. So that was what I did for 17 years in the London financial markets. I worked for the likes of PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is a big four consultancy firm. I worked for the likes of Lloyd's of London, which is one of the most well-known insurance marketplaces in the world. And I worked for the likes of the Bank of England as well. So very much embedded in the London financial markets. And this was my background. And I worked my way up from very junior to very, very senior high-powered roles, alhamdulillah. And I got lots of experience in boardrooms at lots of different companies and organisations. Particularly when I was at the Bank of England, I had a regulatory sphere on, so I worked with lots of different organisations embedding best practice. So that's my background, and I was very happy doing that, alhamdulillah, and I was very good at it. And I was getting paid very, very well for it. The reason most people haven't heard of actuaries is because there's not very many of us. And because there's not very many of us, actuaries get paid very, very well. So alhamdulillah, I had absolutely no reason.
The demand is there, huh?
Exactly. So alhamdulillah, I had absolutely no reason to leave my role as an actuary, and I was very, very happy doing it. So why did I leave and set up my own business, which was frankly the last thing I could have thought about. I'll tell you why. Rewind to 2016 when I was working at the Bank of England. I was sat next to a young lad called Elliot Luciani Kane, 20-something-year-old non-Muslim new graduate. And I was actually boasting to him, and I was saying, you know, Elliot, we actuaries earn very good money. My plan is by the time I'm 40, I'm going to have a property portfolio and I'm going to retire off of the rental income. And that was my plan at that time. And Elliot, this 20-something-year-old non-Muslim guy, wagged a finger in my face and said, Raza, what you're talking about is going to worsen the housing crisis we're in. It's going to make property prices go up further, and it's not going to help anybody but yourself. Whereas with an actuarial skill set, you have a responsibility to fix it. And he struck me like a ton of bricks. And I thought, gosh, this young lad, non-Muslim, he didn't say you have the ability to fix it, you have a responsibility to fix it.
Wow.
He schooled me in Islam.
Definitely, no. I was just about to say, I mean, so the approach you were taking was just to benefit yourself.
Correct.
But what he's showed you is, you know, it will be a disaster for the others and just for yourself. So.
Correct.
Did you expect that from him?
Not at all. I mean, it struck me like a ton of bricks, and I thought, gosh, this guy has literally just schooled me. Yeah. So that planted the seed in my mind. Yeah. And later that year, guess where I went? I went on Hajj. The journey of a lifetime. Yeah. Everyone says Hajj is life-changing.
It is, yeah.
You have to experience it to understand what that means. So I went on Hajj, and I remember standing on the plains of Arafah, 50 degrees heat beating down, standing under the shade of a lonely tree, hands raised to the sky, saying, Ya Allah, you have given me everything. You have given me health, you have given me wealth, you have given me iman, you have given me intellect, you have given me this actuarial skill set that not many people on earth possess. Anything I could want, Ya Allah, you have given it to me. So Ya Rabbi, what will I say when you ask me when I did with it all? On that day when I'm stood in front of you and you ask me what I did with the countless ni'mah you have given me, what am I going to say to you, Ya Allah? Am I going to say I bought a nice house and a nice car and I took my family on holidays and that's all I can say to you? Ya Allah, I am ashamed and I am embarrassed and I am too afraid to stand in front of you on that day. And I started crying, brother, like I've never ever cried in my life. Trembling with fear for my Rabb on that day because I realized I didn't have a good answer. And I kid you not, in the sand around my feet there was a puddle. In this 50 degree heat, there was a puddle. I've never shed so many tears in my life. And that was the moment I realized I need an answer. So that was the life-changing moment for me on my Hajj. So I came home from Hajj. I was working at the Bank of England at the time. I immediately ended my role at the Bank of England. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I had to do something to try and please my Rabb. So I ended my role at the Bank of England and I started thinking, what can I do to please my Rabb? That was it. That's all I knew.
I've got to say, I've interviewed so many people on this show, and the entrepreneur has been going on for a good few years now. But your story is definitely inspiring, and how you got to this position. You know, I'm gobsmacked, and one young chap has pointed you to the right way, and then it just opened your eyes.
Absolutely.
But then you went to Hajj. And you made dua, and subhanallah, Allah does not send anyone empty-handed, and here you are, fantastic, Raza. I've got to say, we've only got a few minutes left now. This is where your journey started with regards to Pfida, and today you're providing a beautiful product. Just quickly, any tips for our viewers from what you've learnt?
Yeah, so I often get asked by young people, I want to set up an Islamic enterprise. What do I need to do? And my response to them is actually, there's very few people who can go straight into enterprise. My response is actually, and this is the same advice I got given when I became an actuary, because actuaries quite often work in insurance, and insurance is a very grey area from a Sharia compliance area. The advice I got given by my teacher was, we need actuaries. We need people with that skill set in our community. If everyone avoids doing it, we'll never have that skill set. So you should do it as long as your intention is to use it for good later on. So my advice is the same. Go into industry, learn your skills, become damn good at what you do, and have the intention to use it to please your Lord. That is when you have the ability to actually go and set something up yourself. Because I saw from the bottom rung to the boardroom. I saw the spectrum, and I saw it in lots of different businesses. And that armed me with the tool set to be able to then go and set up my own business and use what I've already learned in industry. So
master whatever field, and also keep the correct intention to please your Lord. Okay, exactly. One more tip, please.
The other tip I would say is never ever underestimate the power of your mum's du'as. Right? And I'll tell you very quickly a story from when I was setting up Pfida. And we'd had a particularly challenging conversation with the regulator at the time. And I came back home after several years of effort, and I said, it's over, it can't be done. And I remember going home, laying my head in my mother's lap, crying and saying, Mum, it's over. this is it, this is the end of the road. And my mum said to me, Raza, you are doing this for Allah, and He will find a way for you.
Well,
I remember, and I'm ashamed to say, I remember saying, Mum, no, you don't understand. You know, this isn't about making dua. It's over, it can't be done. And I'm so ashamed that that was my response. Because, brother, the very next day, and I'm not making this up, the very next day, I kid you not, it's like I could see Allah's hand removing that obstacle like it never existed.
The power of dua, brother.
The power of mother's duas. I kid you not.
Mother's dua is better than anybody else's dua, but
Wallah.
the power of dua itself, do not underestimate it.
It's amazing.
Thank you, Raza Bhai, and thank you for coming to the show. Truly, truly inspiring.
Thank you so much.
I have learned today what an actuary is. I'll look into it a bit more. But yeah, it's a new word. Tips from you, master whatever field you're in, master that, get the knowledge, and then you can execute it, right? And obviously with the correct intention. And you know, it goes with that saying, mum's duas. I mean, it just miracle works. Do you understand?
Absolutely.
These things are, there's no word that can actually describe it. And I say that to myself, to my mum all the time. Mum, whatever you do, just do not take your dua away from me. So, and every time I make a mistake, or sometimes, you know, you're under pressure, you might say things, but straight away I go to my mother and I put my head on her lap and just ask for dua. And
exactly.
she always makes it. She goes, look, we can't make dua for you guys because it doesn't work like that. I said, well, just in case. So thank you, Raza Bhai, for coming onto this program. It was truly inspirational. I've learned so much today. Archery is a new word in my vocabulary, and I will look into it a bit further. But just to for the viewers, if they want to find you, I can see I've got Pfida written. Have I got it spelled correctly? You can't see that, but I don't think I have got it spelled correctly. Can you just explain to me how the viewers would find you?
Yeah, so the word Pfida, our spelling is a very weird spelling.
Yeah.
So it's P-F-I-D-A. So it's effectively Pfida with a P at the start, and the P stands for people because we always put people first. Okay. So pfida.com.
That is a very weird spelling. I mean, it doesn't say Pfida at all, does it? I'm not going to even try and spell that. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. You've heard from Raza Bhai, you've heard the tips that he's given as well. And if you want to find Pfida, it's pfida.com. Look into it, and it's especially for younger sort of buyers who wants to go into the property ladder, and they've got very many beneficial products out there. So, and once again, thank you for watching the program in the theme that we're following right now, which is financial services. We'll be following that for the next couple of weeks. And hope we can benefit you with questions and answers. And until our next show, Assalamu alaikum.